Just let me know when you press play or start recording or whatever button there is in GarageBand.
Did about 30 seconds ago.
Oh, no shit. Well, I was going to press the start button, motherfucker.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dominic Demore, and thank you for tuning in to the second best thing you will hear all week. We have a great show for you today that includes top-notch film reviews, the latest movie news, and assorted thoughts and opinions ranging from insightful to downright obnoxious. This is the I've Had Better Movies podcast. Let's kick it off. James, what do you have for the fans this week?
Hey, my name is James Langos. Welcome to the show. Each week, Dom and I will give you, the fans, a review of a film currently in theaters, or in the rare occurrence we can't afford to go to the movies that week, we will dig deep into our film libraries to break down an old great or just a random piece of garbage. This week's review is Deadpool.
So, Jim, you and I both saw this movie together on Friday. Packed house in the large theater, the XD Theater at Cinemark Valley View.
Yeah, it was very packed. I was thoroughly impressed with how many people came out.
Yeah. We'll get into it a little later when we talk about the box office, but record numbers for Deadpool, pulling in the highest amount of money ever for an R-rated comedy in one weekend.
Yeah, it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I felt like the length was perfect.
Yeah, no, the length was really good. Like, for me, that actually... well, I'll get into this a little more in depth later. I had a small issue with the length. I could have done with more. It's not necessarily a negative on the film. It's more of a positive because I enjoyed it so much. I wanted more of it.
I think it was just perfect. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for. You want to end a movie and you want more of that movie. I think that helps. And I think they probably cut enough out to make you feel that way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, it's going to be one of those things where I really hope they do a director's cut, and I'm sure they will with the raunchy comedies like this. You always get those cuts where you get an extra 10 minutes of people just chewing scenery, like with the improv skills that TJ Miller and Ryan Reynolds have. I can almost guarantee that cut's going to come out.
I hope so. It'd be a good DVD special.
Yeah. So what'd you think of the acting?
I thought the acting was pretty good. Ryan Reynolds is terrific, just working off the cuff, and you seem like it feels like everything he says is just perfectly timed, even though it's kind of chaos. It's organized chaos.
Yeah, it is. For those of you who are unaware, this movie has been in development by Ryan Reynolds. He's actually a producer on the film for almost 7 years, ever since the X-Men Origins Wolverine Part 7 with 7 different letters in the end title. That awful, awful movie. If you guys couldn't tell, not a huge fan of it. But yeah, ever since that movie came out, Reynolds has really been pushing for his own solo Deadpool movie, and he was a major proprietor in getting this made because Fox didn't want to make it. They didn't see this movie being a success. They didn't think that an R-rated superhero movie could work because people instantly like, oh, comic book movie, it's for the kids. How are we going to make our money back if we make it R-rated, where we cut out half of our demographic? Like, because you got to assume that most superhero movies appeal to children under the age of 13 and males between like 24 and 36. I think those are
yeah, probably somewhere in that range.
Yeah. So I thought Reynolds was perfect. He was born to play this role. And just one more point on how little faith the studio had in it. Reports are, they vary, but the budget for this film was somewhere between 38 and 58 million, which for any of you who are aware of superhero movies is minuscule, considering reports are that Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is around the $300 million mark.
Holy crap, that's a lot of money.
Exactly. So this movie, at minimum, made back its entire filming budget threefold in its opening weekend.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it really is. Just aside from Ryan Reynolds, who was fantastic as Deadpool, who also again, I love this movie so much. Every time I talk about it, I just keep thinking of more and more things. One thing that I loved about this movie and shows how dedicated Ryan Reynolds was to it, you don't see Ryan Reynolds' face very much. Even if you've seen the trailers, you know, big plot point is his skin is awful. He's got just the worst eczema you can imagine, just everywhere. Everywhere.
It's not something you want to stare at.
Yeah, no. It's haunting, as TJ Miller put it. But even in cases like that, most of the time you get big time movie stars, or sometimes not the movie star themselves who come with it, but the agent who is like, hey, my character has to have their actual face on screen minimum 56% of the time. Like, it's one thing that you notice with Iron Man and things like that, where Tony Stark / Robert Downey Jr., you think Iron Man, you instantly see the suit, but you don't realize how much of the time you see that inside view of him in the suit. Or another great example is in every Spider-Man movie ever, Spider-Man gets his mask taken off.
Yeah, it's just something that happens in every movie.
Yeah, it's because they're like,
he's about to be exposed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they want to make sure that actor gets his face time as Spider-Man. So the fact that Reynolds spends 70, probably 80% of this movie with that mask on is amazing, and like, he should be credited for that. But you're like, you know what? This is about the movie. This is about the character. It's not about me. And he was rewarded. It was a smash success.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then, like I was going to say, one actor who really surprised me was, I'm going to butcher her name, Morena Baccarin.
She's Brazilian.
Yeah. Wonderful actress. She's been really good in other things. Personally, I know her from, she was the voice of Gideon in The Flash Season 1. Jim's not a follower of the show, but I'm a big comics head, so I love that show. And that was the main way I recognized her. But she's primarily she's beautiful, so you expect her to be just this eye candy, or like, okay, she's going to be the straight character. But she has some of the best one-liners in this movie. Every time she spoke, I was rolling on the floor.
Yeah, she kept up with Reynolds completely. It was like they were both meant to do this role.
Yeah. From top to bottom, I really enjoyed it. The villains, I really enjoyed. Particularly Ed Skrein, I believe you pronounce his name. He plays the character Ajax. He and Reynolds, their back and forth is both funny and intense, and you really hate him, which is kind of rare in most comic book movies nowadays, because it's so, like, either it's not a very good villain, or it's that anti-hero villain, kind of like a Loki, where even though you hate him, you still like, oh, Loki, I really like Loki. Like, this guy you just hate, and you want bad things to happen to him.
You still enjoy seeing him on screen, though, because he did so well with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, no, they're, like I said, their back and forth was great. And then Gina Carano, who some of you may know from her mixed martial arts career, and she's been in several films up to this point. She was in that, was it Soderbergh's Haywire movie?
Yep.
Yeah, although they've dubbed her voice in that. Were you aware of that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, like, she does the physical acting, but her voice acting was so poor that they actually had another actress come in and do a voiceover effect.
I believe it, because she had maybe 6-7 lines in Deadpool.
Yeah,
I mean,
but her delivery was impeccable.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's one particular scene, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but where she gets exposed, and her delivery of those lines is impeccable. All right, Jim, we both really love this movie. What's your scale on 1 to Good Will Hunting? And also, for those of you who haven't turned in, maybe give a brief overview of why we score our movies on a scale of 1 to Good Will Hunting.
Well, 1 obviously is the lowest, and Good Will Hunting is the 10. Good Will Hunting is a movie that Dom and myself both love. Both love the acting, the plot, and it was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's first it was their baby that they started from scratch.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that you might not find to be the best, and the best thing about movies is that it isn't the same for everyone. Like, you can love a movie that I don't love, I can love a movie that you don't love, but for me and James, this is how we rate movies. Like, if it's good, or if it's great, or if it's Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple scale once you get down.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking Deadpool was probably an 8.
You give it an 8?
8.5 maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, so you can read my full review of Deadpool online at www.ihbpodcast.com, along with tons of other movie reviews and articles. But as far as my rating on here, I give it a solid 9 out of 10 apples.
Impressive.
Yeah, that is the highest rated movie I've done this year. So I really loved it. There's not a whole lot that I can nitpick with it, except for, like I mentioned, the time, which is purely just because I wanted more. I wanted like 1 or 2 extra minutes on a few scenes where it's like, oh, hey, I saw that joke in the trailer, which is another thing that you can really admire this film for. You see a handful / a good amount of the jokes in the trailers, but in the film, I laughed at every single one, which is rare for a comedy.
Yeah, I mean, the marketing was insane for this movie. They went all over the place for this. They showed all sorts of different ads. I mean, stuff with Valentine's Day, Australian Day, or whatever that is.
That is my favorite one. Go and Google Deadpool Australia Day. It is just magic on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, it was just... I'm kind of curious how much they spent just on marketing. It had to have been...
It had to be a pretty penny, but I'd also be surprised. Like, I bet you it's not an insane number, because I would bet Ryan Reynolds, who obviously was a producer and an actor, so he had a lot to lose / gain from the film. So he did all of those spots himself, and he's like, you know what? I don't need to get paid for these. I'm going to get paid when the movie makes money.
Yeah, he may have.
Yeah.
He may have, took some... Yeah, what do they call that?
Back-end deals, some back-end points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... bully for Deadpool.
Every podcast, Dom and myself are going to try and pick some of the top news that's going on in the movie industry. And for this week, we have...
It has been widely reported that Emily Blunt will be lending her voice to the upcoming big screen adaptation of My Little Pony, joining other talent such as Kristen Chenoweth, Twilight Sparkle herself, Tara Strong. James, with an expected November 2017 release date, and as a noted brony, how does Blunt's casting affect your opinion of Lionsgate's project?
First and foremost, what in God's name is a brony?
A brony?
I've never even heard that before.
A brony, for those of you who don't know, is a male who is a big fan of My Little Pony. Like, would go to a My Little Pony convention, and they have
they have conventions?
Yeah, it's My Little Pony has a tremendous following, which makes me think this movie is gonna make bank, because they know what they have, and the demographic for them is much larger than you would think.
Wow, I'm speechless.
Yeah, you should be. But the bronies, they can make or break you. So,
I'm sure.
IHB podcast, strong supporter of the bronies.
Of course.
All right, your thoughts, Jim.
Emily Blunt doing My Little Pony has to say something, because she's a terrific actress. She's, I think she's done well at box offices.
Yeah, well, I mean,
halfway
for
decent.
What she was in Devil Wears Prada, which made real good money. Her latest
that Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah. Well, it's got like 3 different names now, but I think the one they're officially going with is Live, Die, Repeat. But while it was in theaters, it was Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was a great movie. It just made...
It was a sneaky good movie.
Yeah, it did not make nearly as much as it should have at the box office.
Yeah. I blame the marketing and changing movie titles.
Yeah, no, the marketing was handled horribly. But yeah, I know. I think with Blunt being cast in this, I'm a little torn. I think it's great because she's a great talent, and like I've said before, and I've quoted John Campea, adding talent is never a bad thing. Just looking at some of her upcoming movies, she actually is doing a lot of voice work, which is a little surprising to me because she's also being linked to so many top-level movies. Like, a lot of people are saying that she is going to be the next Miss Marvel, which is an upcoming comic book movie
that I'd like
for
to see.
Marvel. Yeah.
Another English actress.
Exactly.
Being a comic book hero, though.
But some of her upcoming films were Huntsman, the next sequel with.
Which I am actually excited for.
Are you?
I really enjoyed the first one.
Did you see the newest trailer?
I have not seen the newest trailer yet.
All right, we're gonna get back to Blunt on My Little Pony in a minute, but I have to talk to you about this because
let's hear it.
It committed one of the biggest trailer sins, and say spoilers before. So cover your ears / fast forward about 2 or 3 minutes if you don't want to hear any spoilers. So did you see the original trailer?
Yes.
Okay. It painted this picture that it's going to be Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth against Emily Blunt and Charlize Theron, and like it was going to be a massive like battle, and it's going to be really cool, and both of these witches / evil queens are just complete badasses. Well, in this newest trailer, they show Blunt teaming up with Hemsworth and Chastain against Charlize Theron.
Well, that's a little weird.
Exactly. So it basically ruins the movie for me now. Yeah, it's one of those things where I had such anticipation for the movie. The trailer looked great. And then you show me the ending to where, like, oh, great. So now it's going to be... And also, I've heard that it's a prequel. I was originally under the idea that it was post Snow White.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Which makes it, again, ruins the ending, because it's like, all right, so the huntsman now has to lose his memory because he has no knowledge of who the evil queen is / Charlize Theron is in the first movie. And you know that he can't end up with Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
And you know that Emily Blunt is nowhere to be found in Snow White, so... Horrible trailer. Somebody really should have, like, that guy should get fired. Whoever put that trailer together.
I still don't understand how these studios are letting these trailers out where they just give so much of the movie away. It happens almost every time where it's like, I don't know if I want to see that movie anymore. You gave too much away in that trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that they want people to, have interest and relate to the trailer, but they're just giving too much away. That needs to be another job that I need to have. Like, studio needs to hire me and tell you if the trailer is good enough or not.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. All right, but back to Blunt and My Little Pony. I'm excited to see her attached to it. An actress of her caliber certainly brings that movie up another level, to whereas, like, it felt maybe like a made-for-TV movie / direct-to-video that, like, most, like, kid cartoons / these type movies would be. But adding an actor of Emily Blunt's level truly makes me probably won't see it unless I somehow...
Why not? You're the biggest brony ever.
If this movie's good, I just might become a brony.
You would.
Hey, good writing's good writing. Okay, on to our next subject.
The Super Bowl brings more than just football to millions of people each year. It also usually means brand new trailers for the biggest summer blockbusters. Notably missing from this year's festivities, aside from 2 very clever Turkish Airlines ads offering affordable flights to both Metropolis and Gotham City, was a final trailer for Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. However, fans did not have to wait long, as just last week fans got their wish. Dom, what are your thoughts on this trailer?
I love this trailer. As we were just talking about the Huntsman, the newest film trailer, how it ruined it. Batman v Superman had a similar incident with their last trailer, the last real trailer. They revealed a major plot point / villain, which ironically most people didn't actually have an issue with. They had an issue with the fact that it showed Batman and Superman teaming up, which is one of those things where the main marketing point for this movie has been Batman versus Superman. Dark Knight versus the Big Blue Boy Scout. Like, they're going to duke it out. But it's one of those things, you also know they're going to team up in the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you know the comic at all, you know that's what happens.
Exactly. Or just life in general. It's 2 superheroes. Like, they're going to team up. But I didn't have as big of an issue with it. I get it because people want to, like, focus on what people really want. Like, the team up will come in Justice League, and let that be what it is. But I want to see Batman punch Superman in his perfect teeth.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to see.
That was perfect.
Yeah, but the trailer itself, I loved it. I thought it had everything I needed. It had you saw great Batman moments where you saw the ferocity in him, and some people were like, "Oh, Superman has all this strength, and he's a alien, and he's super powered. How can he possibly like even have a challenge in Batman?" And this trailer showed that, hey, Batman, he's strong, and it's more of to get a little bit comic book on you. There's two Batmans. One Batman, two ways that he gets written. There's the classic Batman who is mortal, who is man, who is just a decent, like a good detective or world's greatest detective, things like that. And he goes up against normal human beings. But then Batman teams up with the Justice League or these superpowered foes, or he fights the superpowered people, and he turns into what commonly referred to as Bat God, which is that special kind of Batman where he sees everything 10 steps ahead. So he knows that if he throws this punch here, you're going to step there. Kind of like think the Sherlock Holmes movie, how you see Robert Downey Jr. / Sherlock Holmes work through the entire fight before it even happens. Think of that for Batman, but on a superhero level. So I think it did a great job of showing that, okay, this is the Batman you're getting. You're getting more Bat God, and he's going to be able to do some things. And especially with, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, go check it out now. Pause this video right now because I'm going to drop a major spoiler. The end, Batman's in that suit. Superman goes to throw a haymaker. Batman blocks it, and Cavill does a great job of acting, which is showing that emotion and like, what the hell just happened? Because Superman never gets his punch blocked, especially by a mortal.
Yeah, by you saying that right there, I just got goosebumps. You got me all excited.
Yeah, no, that's what a trailer's supposed to do. So I'm super excited for it. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm very excited for it too. I like that you got to see more of Wonder Woman in the trailer. And
yeah, we get her first words in the trailer so far when she's speaking to Ben Affleck / Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how because there's been a lot of reports of other superheroes that are going to be in the movie, and I'm just curious to see how they're going to tie them all in together like the Avengers.
Yeah, probably it's definitely top 2 most anticipated movies of the year. I keep going back and forth between this one and Suicide Squad, just because Suicide Squad trailers are on another level.
Yeah, and they're amazing. Yeah. I'm more excited for Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like, and I'm a lifetime comic book nerd. Batman is my favorite character, but I still have to say, like, it's a tough choice for me. So yeah. I'm seriously looking forward to it, and March cannot come soon enough. Just as reported last week, with the Fast and Furious franchise announcing release dates for all 3 of its upcoming sequels, Paramount has followed suit, announcing 3 new dates for Transformers 5, which will come out June 23rd, 2017, the 6th installment, which will come out June 8th, 2018, and the 7th, June 28th, 2019. While there is still little information available about the films, we do know that the 5th installment will be going head-to-head with Warner Brothers' newest DC movie, Wonder Woman. And the 6th installment is set for a Pacific Rim-like showdown with Godzilla 2. Jim, how do these dates sit with you, and do you foresee any of these films backing down or changing dates?
No. Why, Michael Bay? Why? Why do you still make all these Transformer movies? I'm tired of them. The 4th one was god-awful. Mark Wahlberg was terrible in it.
I think we found a Transformer.
Why? Why are you doing this to us?
Yeah.
Go do something else. For the love of God.
Yeah, I feel like all I'm doing is pouring out my love of different comic book / toy franchises, but I am a massive Transformers fan as well. I had all the toys growing up. Optimus is my boy for life. Respect. And I've seen all 4 of the movies so far. I really enjoy 1 and 2.
1 and 2 were good. They were really good.
Yeah, I don't think 3 was as good, but some other people think 3's arguably the best one in the franchise.
It was too long, way too long. There's awesome fight scenes and CGI was crazy, but it was just too long.
Yeah, I agree. But the fourth installment has no redeemable qualities.
No.
That is a hodgepodge of just nothingness piled on like, hey, we're going to be able to sell a few more toys if we get this movie made in the next year.
Yeah, it's like Michael Bay was on the set with Mark Wahlberg and was like shooting the shit, drinking a few beers, and was like, hey, why don't you star in our next Transformers movie?
Exactly.
Mark Wahlberg's going to say, wait, you're doing another Transformers movie? Sure, I'll do it because you guys are going to pay me my quota, right?
Exactly. Like just on the set of Painting Game, like, I can get you money, right? Like,
I can get you paid.
So it pains me to say I'm choosing Wonder Woman 10 out of 10 times if those days don't move.
Absolutely. I'm choosing Godzilla 2 too.
Yeah,
as well.
I probably would as well. Like the only thing that might get me to move off of Godzilla 2, because Bay has already been confirmed, already signed on for the 5th movie in the series. But if they announce that it's going to be in the hands of a new director for number 6, I would have to give it some thought between Godzilla 2 and that Transformers that weekend.
Now, is Wahlberg signed on for 4 or 5? Or, 5, 6, and 7? Or 7 and 8? Or
I believe Wahlberg is in for 5.
5?
Yes. I think he and Bay are both in for 5. Beyond that, I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. But also, supposedly, the writer's room for this movie was insane. Like, Spielberg sat in. Like, 3 other Oscar-nominated writers sat in. But the problem is, you can have great ingredients, but if you put them in the hands of a chef that can't work with them, he's not going to be able to do anything. And Bay is that chef. Bay is like, you know what works every time? Grilled cheese and jalapenos. It'll get you there, and it'll get you a little bit of heat, but there's no real substance to it.
Yeah,
I'm looking for the full-on meal, and I don't think Bay can deliver that in these films.
No, he's not doing it at all. I can't get over how bad the 4th one was.
Makes me kind of want grilled cheese and jalapeno, though.
That does sound pretty good since I didn't eat after work.
Yeah, but no, I'm seeing Wonder Woman 10 times out of 10. Everything I've heard about that movie, all the snippets that I've seen, the quick shots, it looks like it will be what you would want a Wonder Woman film to be. And if I have to compete against the two, it's going to be Transformers taking that step down because of how poor past installments have been.
Yeah, I agree. What studio brought Fast and Furious?
Universal.
Is that Universal? It's like Paramount's trying to compete with Fast and Furious franchise, and they think they can just do a bunch of these movies and not have an issue with it like Universal. But yeah, I just don't agree with it.
And I don't get the benefit from announcing these dates now. Like, I get announcing the 5th movie just because it is a year away and some change now, but why bother committing? Like, is it just to warn other people that you're coming in?
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but even then, like, who?
Like, Marvel does it with all theirs. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but, Marvel's the big dog on the block. Star Wars is the big dog on the block. Like, Star Wars is locking down December now, and possibly they're going to move back to May for a couple of the installments.
Because I think Rogue is supposed to come out.
Yeah, Rogue One comes out this December.
Yeah, this December, and then the next one's supposed to be in May.
No, Episode 8 got moved back as well.
Oh, it did?
Both of them will be coming. Rogue One comes out this December, and Episode 8 comes out the following December.
Okay.
And then after that, reports are that, like, the Han Solo movie is supposed to come out in May.
Okay.
But that's 2 or 3 years down the line.
And that'll probably get pushed back to December.
I would not be surprised. As far as movies changing dates, I don't see Wonder Woman changing because Batman vs. Superman had already moved off of its original intended date because they were supposed to have the same weekend that Captain America Civil War had. So I don't, and also because Wonder Woman has already started shooting, so I think they'll be ready, more than ready by the time this rolls around. To my knowledge, Transformers hasn't even started shooting yet. So I'm curious if they'll even make this targeted release date. So I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to, especially if they are hearing really, like, their studio's hearing really good things about Wonder Woman, they might be like, hey, we're going to take a step back on this one. We'll go 2 weeks forward or maybe like 2 weeks back. But
It'll be interesting to see.
I also don't see Godzilla moving off of their date because that's 3 years in the making now. That movie came out back in
14?
Yeah,
2014.
Yeah, so that's surprising, and Godzilla, especially overseas, has a good following. So I don't know if Transformers is going to want to compete with that. So we'll definitely see. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll keep you guys informed if we hear anything new.
The Hollywood Reporter released that actors Joesph Gordon-Levitt and Channing Tatum are attached to star in an R-rated musical comedy for Universal Studios. Not much is known about the project at the moment, aside from the original idea from Gordon-Levitt and screenwriter Michael Bacall, who will be writing the film. Musicals are not entirely common in today's film world. Dom, do you think Gordon-Levitt and Tatum can pull off this feat?
If there are two people in Hollywood I trust to do it, it's certainly these two guys. Particularly Gordon-Levitt, who I'm not sure if you're aware. Have you heard anything or seen anything about his Hit Record website/series?
I saw him on one of the late night shows promoting it. All I know is on Fallon when they do the lip sync battle, he does awesome.
Yeah, no, but
I mean he's not actually singing himself, but it looks great.
Yeah, his Hit Record series is essentially an online TV channel / way for independent filmmakers / just creative people to get their stuff out there. Like he helps them fund it. He handles the production value of it, and then obviously they share profits and things like that. But it's a great idea, and he's in phone commercials promoting it. Like there's one where he's sitting there humming, and a bunch of other people join in, and in the corner you see sponsored by Hit Record, and people don't realize how good of a theater / singer that Gordon-Levitt is, because he's known primarily as a very good actor. And then Tatum, who everybody knows can dance via all those Magic Mike movies.
And Honey.
Was he in Honey?
I'm pretty sure he was in Honey. I will have to check on that.
Yeah, we'll double check on that. But so we all know he can dance. But James and I both saw Hail Caesar not too long ago. And while we don't have the fondest memory / rating for the film itself, Tatum does a wonderful musical number in the middle of the film that doesn't feel out of place. He does this wonderful break in the middle where they break into song, and it's like an old school movie to where there's people dancing and singing, and he did a wonderful job with it. I enjoyed every second of it, and I am not the biggest music / musical fan in the world. So I fully anticipate that these two will knock it out of the park. But at the same time, they have to keep that budget relative. Channing Tatum is a guy who can get $15 million a picture now. I don't think he can take that for this movie, because I don't see this movie grossing more than $200 million. So if you keep a relative budget, maybe I'd say 50, 60 million, then I think this movie could absolutely be a success.
He was actually in the movie Step Up.
Ah, yes, the classic.
So we're going to cut.
He met his wife on that.
We're going to cut what I just said.
We'll keep
and
parts
then you
of
cut that, and then you fix this.
We'll keep parts of it.
Yeah. He did Step Up in 2006. So we can definitely dance.
Plus, R-rated, which is generally a good feel nowadays for Tatum. He's done wonderful in the 21 Jump Street, which I believe either the producer or possibly the writers were involved with that project as well for both of these movies. So that's the tie-in for Tatum, how he got to this movie. So I'm fully looking forward to it. Again, keep the budget in mind, but any final thoughts?
No. Multiple sources have reported that Johnny Depp has inked a deal to revitalize the classic monster film, The Invisible Man. This comes just weeks after similar reports have attached Tom Cruise to the newest iteration of the Mummy films. Some of you may be unaware, but Universal Studios, who owns the film rights to all the classic movie monsters, is planning to create a modern-day shared universe along the same lines we see with the current box office juggernaut Marvel. Dom, do you think a shared world approach will work with these properties?
I am intrigued by the idea of a shared world experience. And I absolutely love the casting of these films, particularly Tom Cruise. Because from what I'm hearing, Tom Cruise isn't going to be playing a movie monster himself. Like, he's not going to be the mummy in the film.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't do that. He's too pretty to mess up his face.
Exactly. He's supposed to be that, like, everyman kind of character who is the one who end up either being a hero / is involved some way in the story.
The Brendan Fraser character.
Yeah, but I assume to a much greater extent because, I mean, it's Tom Cruise.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. So I assume it's going to be Ethan Hunt / Jack Reacher fighting the mummy. So that'll be interesting to see. And I actually enjoy the idea of Johnny Depp cast as the Invisible Man because in my head, the Invisible Man is more of that like smooth, sneaky character. Like just how I thought Kevin Bacon was a great cast in The Hollow Man because his voice works so well when you don't have to see him on screen, and he kind of can send that chill through you. I think Johnny Depp can do the same thing by like almost lulling you to sleep, and depending on which way this movie decides to go, whether more horror or more in the action adventure, which, judging by the idea of trying to set up a shared universe, I would feel that it would go more action adventure. But how do you feel about it?
I'm definitely intrigued with it. I mean, some of these monsters are kind of childhood memory. I mean, I loved watching the Mummies. They're not great films, but they were entertaining, especially when you're younger. It'll be interesting to see what all they're willing to remake too.
Yeah, I'm hearing they're going the entire gamut. They're going. There's talk that there eventually will be a Frankenstein. There's going to be another Wolfman, which actually my brother and I just watched the most recent remake, the one with Benicio del Toro in the lead character.
Is that Anthony Hopkins?
Anthony Hopkins and Emily Blunt. Oddly enough, just everybody we're talking about shows up in that movie. But it'll be interesting of what, like I said, what I was saying. That movie got panned a little bit by critics, and most people didn't like it. I actually love that interpretation of the movie. It was that perfect level of gore and action adventure that I'm kind of expecting these movies to be, to where they have a horror element, but at the end of the day, it's going to be more of like a showdown type movie.
I just really hope they don't ruin Frankenstein again. It's been done so many times, and it's been ruined way too many times.
Yeah, my main issue with this though is it's going to be tough to do a crossover. I think that's where I think the shared universe is going to be different. Like, I don't see the Invisible Man showing up on the same screen as the Wolfman and the Mummy. I think it might be more of the situation where Tom Cruise shows up in every one of these movies.
Yeah, for some reason I keep picturing the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah,
where they kind of combined everyone to fight some other stronger force.
Yeah, I don't see that happening just because I don't think it works in this situation.
Yeah, how do you have like the Frankenstein who doesn't like anyone team up with someone else?
Yeah,
some other monster.
Yeah, so I think we both agree. Intriguing, looking forward to it. Glad it's happening because these are properties that they deserve to be on screen because they're classics and shouldn't be forgotten. And hopefully it'll inspire younger generations to go back and check out the 1941 version of the Wolfman or something like that. So worst case scenario, they suck. Best case scenario, they're great and make you just love the originals that much more.
Yep. And
our final news story of the day. Rumors have been flying around the web at a rapid pace regarding casting news for the next installment of the Star Wars saga. But it appears we finally have confirmation of 2 actors who will be joining the cast. Disney released a statement Monday that Laura Dern of Jurassic Park fame and legendary actor Benicio del Toro have signed on to join the cast. Jim, what are your thoughts on the castings, and what do you hope to see from these characters?
I'm excited to see both of them, especially Benicio del Toro. I'm hoping he plays a villain.
Yeah, that is what the reports have been.
He plays a perfect bad guy. He's so great at getting you to dislike him, but still intrigued with him and his story because he's such a great actor. And Laura Dern, everyone loves Jurassic Park, so how are you not going to love her in Star Wars? But it'll be interesting to see what her actual role is, and how much how big of a role she's going to play throughout the film.
Yeah, I'm curious whether she'll be a live action character, because recently she's been doing a little bit more voiceover. Like James and I are both big Bill Burr fans, and she voices the mother on F is for Family. So I'll be curious to see if she plays more of like an alien, like for those of you who saw the most recent Star Wars The Force Awakens, there's a character named Maz Kanata, who is voiced by Lupita Nyong'o. Nailed it. I got all those words out together. So, sorry, I had to pat myself on the back a little bit for that. But it's a mainly CGI character. So I'm curious if she's just going to be lending a voice or if she's going to be playing an actual character. For me, pure speculation, just based purely off of looks and things like that, I think she could be playing the new Mon Mothma, who from the original Star Wars trilogy is kind of the leader of the, in this case, kind of the Resistance, although Leia is the leader of the Resistance in this. But also at the same time, Star Wars is one of those tricky movies where you hear big names get cast and then end up in the movie for only a split second. The go-to for this, again, spoilers, if you haven't seen The Force Awakens, which if you haven't, you're the only person in the world, seeing as it just recently passed $2 billion worldwide. But Max von Sydow, who legendary actor in Hollywood, huge name, people were speculating who he would be in the films for months, is in the movie for roughly 3 minutes. So I'm curious what they do with her. Del Toro, on the other hand, I think he's playing a big part. I think he is going to be a main big bad in this.
I hope so. Yeah. He's too big not to have some small role.
I agree. So, looking forward to that. A lot of rumors around that he could be playing a character from the extended universe named Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's this blue humanoid alien character that is the first to ever achieve his current rank and for his species, and seeing Del Toro do something like that really makes me even more anticipated for episode 8, which I didn't think was which I didn't even think was possible.
I hope he plays sort of the character that he played in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I don't want to see as eccentric as that.
Yeah, that was a little too much, but the villain side of it.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Next up, we have the box office battle. 3 exclamation points, Jim. See how I did that? A competition for bragging rights between friends who want nothing more than to prove that they know more than the other guy. And, of course, who buys the first round of drinks this week. How the games works is each week, my co-host and I will predict the top 5 films at the box office. Whoever gets the closest to the correct order wins the point for the week. Taking the number 1 spot was the R-rated comedy Deadpool, pulling in a record $135 million domestically. Continuing to succeed at the box office, Kung Fu Panda 3 pulled an additional $19.7 million, taking the second place overall, followed by third place, the debut of the Dakota Johnson-led picture How to Be Single with $18.8 million. Disappointing, in the fourth place, with just $15.7 million, we saw the return of Blue Steel in Zoolander 2. And finally, rounding out the top 5, was the Leonardo DiCaprio Oscar-nominated film, The Revenant, with $6.6 million, giving a total domestic box office of nearly $159 million. Jim, give us a breakdown of who won last week's battle, and your thoughts on the box office this week, with your picks for the following.
So, yeah, Dominic obviously won last week. I had some poor choices.
I mean, let's face facts, Jim. Putting Benghazi in your top 5 might have been a fatal
mistake. I was trying to be a curveball and stand out.
Just for the record, neither one of us had a particularly great week when it came to comparing, especially when it came to predicting the numbers for Deadpool.
We were way off.
Yeah, we apparently did not have nearly as much faith in the picture as Ryan Reynolds did. So, kudos to that guy. But we both had them in the Deadpool in the number one spot, and then it kind of went downhill from there. Yeah, How to Be Single surprise for me, making it just over 18 million, and Kung Fu Panda staying in second place, which I know I had in third place, and I believe you had in fourth. Don't quote me on yours, but
it was somewhere around there.
A strong showing that put it over the $100 million domestic number, I believe, for the U.S. So that was impressive. And Zoolander, man, just
not well.
Yeah. Ironically enough, the first Zoolander opened to roughly the same number, but did not have nearly the same reviews. So I expect a major drop-off for Zoolander next week.
Yeah, I mean, we chose not to see it because of the reviews.
Yeah, exactly. We actually both went and saw How to Be Single, as opposed to the classic film that you think two 24-year-old men would go to for a demographic. But I heard such bad reviews and info on this film, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Like, I couldn't spend $10 to see just an awful movie.
Yeah, we were just taking notes on How to Be Single.
Yeah. Which really doesn't tell you how to be single so much, because everybody's always dating somebody in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I actually enjoyed it. I have a review up online. Go ahead and check it out at www.ihbpodcast.com. And hopefully if I say that website enough, you all will just keep going. But then final note for last week, The Revenant holding on to the number 5 spot, making really good money domestically, almost doubled its budget globally. So whenever you can do that for a film, you are well in the black. So kudos to Leo on that, and we'll see if it can hold on to that top 5 spot next week. Speaking of next week, Jim, give me your top 5.
All right, I've got Deadpool at number 1, number 2, Kung Fu Panda 3, number 3, Zoolander 2, might be a little high, number 4, Witch, and number 5, Revenant. I think people are going to go see it because the Oscars are getting closer.
Right around the corner. So, yeah, definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if it held on to that 5th spot. My lineup is slightly different. We both agree that on Deadpool number 1, I think it's going to have a really good week again. I'm predicting about 67 million, a little bit more than a 50% drop off, which for a movie of this size, for that budget, absolutely will take. That will put it over the $200 million mark for North America, which is just insane considering how low that budget is. In number 2, I have the upcoming biopic Race, about the Jesse Owens story. Jim did not have this in his top 5, and it's a bit of a risk for me because I'm not sure if it will get the returns because the marketing, I haven't felt that big of a push for it. But I absolutely love the trailers. I think the performances in it look really good. I'm looking forward to seeing Jason Sudeikis in more of a dramatic role. And I'm not sure of the guy's name, but whoever is playing Jesse Owens, I'm going to have to look that up because he looks fantastic in it. And just from the trailer alone, I want to see more of him. Third place, I have The Witch, which Jimmy mentioned. It is the first... Oh, well, not the first because The Boy and other, like The Forest, came out earlier this year, but this is the first movie of the year that actually scared me with a trailer. It's a bit of a... I liken it to Blair Witch Project meets The Village, but in a good way, if you can ever reference The Village in a good way.
And you can't really.
Yeah, no. M. Night Shyamalan really Shyamalan'd out of the hell out of that one. That's a verb, Shyamalan.
Making up words here.
Hey, I mean, the IHB podcast, we're going to have to develop our own shticks. And Shyamalan is kind of what I'm doing to this segment right now. I'm just Shyamalan the hell out of it. But no, I absolutely think The Witch February is one of those weird months where it's cold outside, and the people who are real horror fans slash love scary movies, they'll go to the movies to spark up that need again. And also, the trailers were just interesting enough that, well, I might even go see it. But I will then sleep with a light on that night. In fourth spot, I have Kung Fu Panda 3. Again, it did well enough to place second last week, but I think its competition was fairly weak aside from Deadpool. And only making, well, not only, but pulling in 19.7 million, I see probably another like 5 to 6 million drop off I could see. So hopefully the two movies I mentioned previously will do better than that in their debuts. And in number 5, I have Zoolander, not because I think it deserves to be there, because I don't think it even deserves to be in the top 5, but just because Deadpool and Zoolander 2 may have shared common audience members, and people were going to choose to see Deadpool over Zoolander, so I could see it having a semi-decent week. But if it sees a dramatic drop-off, like it only returns maybe 33% from that first week, we could be looking at a real box office bomb.
Now it's time for a tough question. A segment dedicated to getting answers to life's toughest questions, like just how many Baldwin brothers there are, and giving you, the fans, the opportunity to ask us questions to encourage intense debate that could ruin our friendship. I don't think so. If you would like to ask us a question, just send a tweet using hashtag IHBmovies or send us an email to ihbpodcast@gmail.com.
All right, Jim, as we previously mentioned in the box office breakdown and in our review, Deadpool had a record-setting week. So my question to you is, with Deadpool being rated R, and it's a hard R, do you think we will see a spike in R-rated superhero films? And if so, is there one area in particular you would want to see?
I hope so, because R-rated movies tend to be funnier in a raunchier way, which, I mean, it's a good change of pace. I enjoy Avengers, but sometimes they're too kid friendly, and when
it feels like there's nothing
about
at
to hit
stake.
It's like there's nothing at stake, and really when shit's about to hit the fan, people are usually cursing, and it just seems more believable at times, even though superheroes aren't really that believable at other moments. So I'm excited that I'm hoping that there will be more R-rated superhero films. And one in particular that I'd like to see is probably Wolverine, because I felt like they've just tried to tame Wolverine, and it would be interesting to see him actually really shred some people up.
Yeah, like true berserker rage.
Yeah, and speak his mind, because he doesn't really say what he's probably thinking.
Yeah, fun fact, the only reason that Hugh Jackman did a cameo in X-Men First Class is because they let him use the F word. I believe it. Yeah, he is the only actor to use profanity to that level in the current superhero genre.
Yeah, because what are they allowed? One F word in PG-13 movies?
Yeah, one F word, yeah. Which I learned from Be Cool. Yeah, with that John Travolta, Uma Thurman movie. Yeah. So, I think we'll definitely see an increase. For sure, we're going to get a Deadpool 2 and possibly an X-Force movie, which is kind of like a dark, raunchy version of the Avengers / X-Men, where you get this group who they all swear and they all are very gory combatants. And ironically enough, to go off what you said, you know who one of the main contributors to X-Force is?
Wolverine?
Bingo. So that could be something really to look forward to, and maybe it could even entice Hugh Jackman to stay on as Wolverine longer than one more film, which he's reported to be agreed to. But on the negative side, I fear that we may end up getting just a ton of or not a ton, but a relative ton of R-rated comic book movies that we don't really need. You can absolutely make a 10 out of 10 movie that's not rated R. So I don't want to see them just stoop to rated R and use it for the sake of using it. Like, you don't just to
It's
use...
got to be well thought out.
Exactly.
Well written.
Yeah. If you're just going to use 40 F-bombs in a film just to use 40 F-bombs, there's no real point. Yeah. It could breed some lazy writing. So it's something I'm looking forward to with the right application. I'd love to see another Blade movie get made, and most people forget that that's actually a Marvel comic as well.
Those were rated R, though, weren't they?
They were, yeah. But those are comic book movies, but I think most people would consider those horror / like not true.
Because they're more vampire.
Exactly. Like you'll see that movie without a Marvel comic label getting slapped on it. It's just Vampire Hunter. Although not Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which, God, should that have been rated R? Just so less people could see it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Like, you know what? Let's slap an NC-17 on this Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer just so fewer and fewer people could see it.
Absolutely. If I worked for that studio, I would tell them, no, do not make this movie. It will not make money.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please like this episode and subscribe to the I've Had Better Podcast Network. Also, follow us on Twitter at IHB Podcast, and on Facebook, go like the I've Had Better Podcast page. Jim, tell the people how to find you.
On Twitter, my handle is at _Kaiser_Soze. And also check out this podcast and other podcasts and articles at the IHBpodcast.com.
Nice. And I am Dominic Demore, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dom Demore or on Facebook at Dominic Demore. Twitter, that is DOMDEMORE. How was your show this week, Jim?
I've had better.
Good night, everybody.